Yo, what is up, guys? James Carter TV here for a dual mock draft. I am joined by my competitor and longtime friend, Chase Oliver. Introduce yourself.
What's up, guys? This is Chase Oliver here. Thanks for having me, James.
No problem. So here's how we're going to do this thing. Chase has the odd number teams. I have the even number teams. He'll pick, I'll pick, and we'll discuss the picks. And we're doing this about 5 days out from the NFL draft. Things could change from now, but mostly everything we predict will be right because we're good like that. So with that said, Chase, who is your first pick?
Well, there's only one pick for the first pick. It's pretty much everyone's mock draft that this guy's going to be chosen. The only other guy that could get chosen over him is his quarterback compadre, Marcus Mariota. But we all know that Jameis Winston from Florida State is going to be the number one overall pick for Tampa Bay. You know, I get it. There's some off-the-field concerns, but apparently Florida State had a deal with that food marketplace to give free food to Florida State players. I don't know how that's not being under investigation by the NCAA, but whatever. So really, Jameis Winston's the right choice here. You know, big quarterback, nice arm, can move in the pocket. You know, I don't think he's going to be the best quarterback right off the bat, but he's going to be their franchise quarterback if treated correctly. You know, if Tampa Bay can build around him. And they have nice pieces. You know, they have Mike
Evans.
Mike Evans. I almost said Mike Jenkins. Mike Evans. They have Austin Safarian-Jenkins, who I was thinking about. They have Vincent Jackson. You know, they have nice pieces around there. You know, if Doug Martin can get back to his old self like he was his rookie year, you know, Jameis Winston can actually have a nice career. You know, Tampa Bay needs a quarterback at the end of the day, so it has to be Jameis Winston.
Yeah, big, tall wide receivers down there in Tampa Bay. He'll have fun throwing to them. And I'm a big Jameis Winston fan. Think he's a future Pro Bowler at the next level. This is a guy that threw for 40 touchdowns and 10 interceptions and was godly as a freshman. And there's a reason why they called him famous Jameis after his freshman year. I expect more of that in the NFL. But he needs to learn how to recognize linebackers and zone covers because that was a big issue for him. And also don't have those Brett Favre interceptions, as I like to call them, and trust your receivers too much. You will have some great weapons in there, but don't trust them too much. And with that said, I hold the second pick. This is my favorite team in the Tennessee Titans, so I feel very confident about this pick, where they're going to go in this direction. Quarterback Marcus Mariota. It's been well documented throughout the offseason that he may not be the best fit under Ken Whisenhunt's offense, but I'm sure that when a franchise quarterback is available, that Ken Whisenhunt would take him and would mold his offense around him, because that's just what you have to do. If you want to compete in the NFL as a head coach and you want your team to be competitive, you need to have a franchise quarterback, and you just can't afford to not take one because, well, he doesn't fit our system. He's good, but he doesn't fit our system. That's just unacceptable. They'll take him, or someone will trade up for him. Either way, Marcus Mariota, I expect him to be the second pick in this NFL draft, whether it's to Tennessee or someone else. I think it's just going to be to Tennessee.
Yeah, he just has too much talent to, you know, leave the second pick. It's like, you know, I saw that there were some drafts where they had him slipping all the way to number 6 to the Jets, and I'm like saying to myself, no, if the Jets want to get Mariota, they will have to trade up to get him. Like, he's definitely going number 2, too much talent. And also for the Titans, they need to find a franchise guy. They have really nice receiver pieces down there. They have Kendall Wright. They have Justin Hunter. You know, they got, you know, Delaney Walker kind of going last season. And not only that, they're trying to find someone that can pair well with their running back and Bishop Sankey. So really, to be honest, Mariota is a really good pickup for Tennessee. I really feel like Tennessee should not even be thinking about the options of maybe getting a Phillip Rivers or getting more draft picks for Mariota. They shouldn't even be thinking about getting this number 2 pick up, because Mariota, to me, I feel like he would be a good fit for the Titans. I think Kevin Whisenhunt will kind of be there just for a couple years to help coach Mariota, good quarterback techniques, but in the end, Mariota will have a successful career under a different coach, not named Ken Whisenhunt. When the Titans say, you know what, he's our guy, I can see Mariota leading the Titans to a couple more wins. And besides, I want to see Mariota versus Jameis Winston week 1 of the NFL season. I mean, Tampa Bay and Tennessee are playing against each other. How awesome would that be? Week 1, you get to see Mariota versus Winston. I mean, people have been waiting for clashes of like RG3 and Andrew Luck on primetime. Well, we don't have to wait to see Jameis Winston and Mariota at the NFL level. And you can't have Zach Mettenberger be your quarterback. I'm sorry, man. Zach Mettenberger, he's just not good.
Yeah, that is true. So where are you going to go with the third pick?
With the third pick, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars select Dante Fowler. You know, Jacksonville, at first, they looked like they were screwed at this third pick because they needed offensive line help super duper bad. Yet there's no offensive linemen this year that are even warrant of a top 10 selection. Like, you know, in years past, we've seen where, you know, there have been a run of guards and tackles being picked in the top 10. But this year, there's no offensive lineman even worth a top 15 mention. So Jacksonville got, I think, Farnell McPhee under contract this year. So now they can actually go best player available. They still need O-line help, but now they can go best player available. And really, for Gus Bradley, he's all about defense. That's all he wants to run is defense. He's very good at it. They need more depth at the defensive position. Dante Fowler, really good player out of Florida. Definitely shocks the people at the combine. I thought people would smarten up and realize this guy's just a good player. But then again, hey, Florida didn't really have that good of a season. But Dante Fowler, really good player. I can see Jacksonville taking them, and he could turn out well on the NFL level. But he kind of feels like a bust, just a little bit, because let's face it, Jacksonville development of players are not really very good.
Yeah, Dante Fowler would be an interesting Swiss Army knife for that Gus Bradley defense. He could play some linebacker, play some defensive end. They've been rebuilding this defense, well, hell, rebuilding the whole team for years now, and it's time for them to start having some success doing that. Dante Fowler would help them there. There's a little pause because these Florida defensive linemen haven't been doing too well in the NFL. But under Will Muschamp. But he is a very good player, and I'm sure he would do just fine in Jacksonville. Now, for the Oakland Raiders have a conundrum here. I have a conundrum. I don't know if I should pick a wide receiver like Amari Cooper to line him up with Derek Carr, or to take the best player on the board, Leonard Williams out of USC. But I think I'm going to pick Leonard Williams. He's a homegrown kid, USC, you know, that's about 2-hour drive away. And he said early in the draft process, I want to stay in Cali. Hey, Raiders, please pick me. Mm-hmm. And now they're able to do that. I'm sure Jack Del Rio is drooling at the opportunity to pick a defensive lineman like this after having guys like Pot Roast and the other idiots and clowns he's had through Jacksonville and Denver over the past decade. So he just loves this pick, and he'll pick defense over offense whenever he gets the opportunity. So Leonard Williams here for me.
Yeah, I like this pick of Leonard Williams. I mean, this receiving class, you know, it's very deep. Like, there's a lot of good players, and I think, like, Oakland can look to get their number one. Because let's face it, the Raiders are still rebuilding. It's not like the Raiders are looking to make the playoffs right away. You can find your number one receiver next year in the draft. You just need to find players to help Derek Carr develop. That's the main goal for this season, is getting Derek Carr to keep on developing. And having Leonard Williams there with a guy like Khalil Mack, who I think is going to be a stud in the NFL. Khalil Mack is the one Oakland Raider player that I fear for the next however many odd years, as long as he stays healthy. This kid's a fun watch. And you pair Leonard Williams with Khalil Mack in there, man, that could be a very treacherous, you know, front seven for a while with those two manning it down. So hopefully Leonard Williams turns out well for the Raiders, and I think it would be a smart pickup here instead of wasting it on a wide receiver when you know that you're not going to make the playoffs. What's the point of getting a wide receiver? And usually when you do draft a wide receiver this high, they don't really turn out that well for you. Like, not every wide receiver is going to be like Calvin Johnson.
All right, so where'd you go with the fifth pick?
I got with the Washington Redskins taking Alvin Dupree, outside linebacker out of Kentucky. I think that Washington, they solved their mystery with their nose tackle, signing Terrence Knight in the offseason, pot roast, as people are calling him. I'm surprised how cheap they got him for. I mean, seriously, this guy only signed for 1 year? Jesus. But, yeah, I have them drafting Alvin Dupree. Alvin Dupree, I just think, makes the best choice. They just lost Brian Arakpo. They need an edge rusher. Get Alvin Dupree out of Kentucky. I think that's the best choice here.
Yeah, the Redskins defense has been in turmoil since London Fletcher left last year. They were pretty bad in 2014. Hopefully, Alvin Dupree would calm them down. And the secondary is still a huge issue for them, so hopefully they address that later on in the draft. But you hit the nail right on the head. They need an outside linebacker. They need a pass rush after Brian Orakpo left in free agency. And huge get in free agency, getting pot roast Terrence Knighton on that defensive line. And they picked up another defensive lineman that I can't remember at this moment. I think it was Stephen Pye or someone like that. But they're adding pieces to that defense. I worry, though, for Jay Gruden. The Redskins are one of those teams that are just in this weird spot. Like, where is this team? And it sucks for Jay Gruden because I don't think he can afford another 4-12 season, but I don't see how they do much better than that. And that's what happens when you have a questionable quarterback situation. We all know what RG3 did in his rookie season, but can he get to that form again? I don't know. They're going to bet on it, it looks like. Good luck. But this will be a good piece, whether it be for Jay Gruden or whatever coach that comes after him, and I think it's almost inevitable at this point. With the 6th pick, I have the New York Jets, and I had a tough time here. The Jets are definitely looking for a pass rusher in this draft. Calvin Pace hasn't been a great pass rusher for them. They're going to a very blitz-heavy 3-4. They've been in a 3-4, but this is going to be really blitz-heavy. So they would love to get a pass rusher. But the best player on the board was still here, and I understand they got Brandon Marshall in free agency, and that's fine, and that's nice. And I know they have Eric Decker, who they signed a couple years ago, and that's great. But when you have the opportunity to draft a Pro Bowl-type wide receiver in Amari Cooper, you can't pass that up. I have the New York Jets selecting Amari Cooper and giving Geno Smith yet another weapon to use in this offense.
Yeah, especially when you look at Brandon Marshall, who's kind of a head case. You don't know what you're really going to get for him. Eric Decker, he's a nice player, but he's not a number one. Like, he's a good number 2 wide receiver. Amari Cooper could definitely step up and be that number 1 wide receiver. Geno Smith worked best in West Virginia when he was being able to throw the ball down deep. And we saw, this past season, Geno Smith can actually throw the ball pretty well when he has to throw the deep ball. I mean, what was that one play against the Packers where I guess the assistant coach called a timeout before the play actually happened and stuff like that? Yeah. So really, to be honest here, Geno Smith, he has a nice arm. He can play football. Geno Smith is not completely inept. I think he can do well with the talent around him. I don't think he could ever make talent better, but I feel like he can play well with great talent around him. And Cooper is a great talent. Cooper can play the slot receiver if needed to his first year. Heck, he could be your number 1, and you could put Brandon Marshall in the slot if you feel like Brandon Marshall's too old to do anything else. So, yeah, you got to get Amari Cooper here. Like, I don't care if there's all these edge rushers for you to draft. If you draft like an edge rusher or a corner, what are you doing? You just signed Darrelle Revis and Antonio Cromartie to contracts again. Like, they're back with the Jets. You don't need cornerbacks. You don't need any edge rushers. You're fine. So really, to be honest here, I hope that they make the right choice and choose a wide receiver in Amari Cooper, but it's the Jets. What do you expect?
So where'd you go at number 7?
I have the Bears to replace the need of Brandon Marshall to get Kevin White out of West Virginia. Jeffrey's really good. He could maybe be your number 1 in the future, but just in case he's just a number 2 guy for the rest of his career, at least you drafted the number 1 wide receiver in Kevin White. Kevin White is really, really good. A guy came from JUCO, dominated West Virginia in his 2 years, and now he has a chance to be, possibly the best receiver in this class. I think Cooper is going to be overall the better receiver in my personal opinion, but Kevin White has the possibility of being the best receiver in this draft, and especially if you want to see if Jay Cutler's your guy, you have to surround Jay Cutler with all the pieces. Now, I think Jay Cutler is done in Chicago. I think Chicago should give up on. If they want to see if up to that him, you have to surround him with all the pieces that you can. You have to say, hey, look, Jay, we're giving you no excuses. Yeah, we traded away Brandon Marshall, but guess what? We replaced him with Kevin White. You still have Alshon Jeffrey. You still have Martellus Bennett. Show me what you can do with these guys. You have Forte. You have all these other running backs that are not named Matt Forte. Show us what you can do. So as long as this move is just basically to not only build for the future, but to just say, hey, Jay Cutler, show us what you can do as the number 1 quarterback.
Kevin White is a great fit here. after losing Brandon Marshall, or actually not even losing him, they got rid of Brandon Marshall in free agency, or before free agency, I think it was actually. They need to fill this wide receiver position. Eddie Royal is cute, but you need a number two. Eddie Royal is not a number two at this juncture, not a very good one. So Kevin White can go in there. The Bears are also in a weird place, but John Fox can build this team up, but it's just kind of like an awkward breakup pending between the Bears and Jay Cutler. They know that they don't want him. He knows that they don't want him, but they can't get rid of him. So it'll be interesting to see how that translates in 2015. But yeah, so with the 8th pick, Falcons are pleased. They wanted their outside linebacker, and they get him in Vic Beasley out of Clemson. I'm not the biggest fan. I'm not sure how he'll translate. And I'm not a big size guy, but his short arms do concern me. Dan Quinn, though, should be able to develop the talent. He's been adding a bunch of defensive players throughout the entire offseason, so this is just another one here for them. And Matt Ryan, it's time to get back to the playoffs, bud, because we can't just sit here and look at you doing nothing. It's time to do something. This is what the
Falcons need. Ryan. The Falcons on defense last year, they were just atrocious to watch. They couldn't stop the run. Vic Beasley, like I've heard, there's also talks that he could play middle linebacker, which is kind of interesting. He's faster than most middle linebackers, so maybe that could help Atlanta when it comes to the run defense. But he's definitely a player that Atlanta's looking for. They're looking for any edge rusher. Any edge rusher that's available, whoever it is, like it's either Dupree, Beasley. Hell, Atlanta will freaking freak out if Dante Fowler falls to them. If they get Dante Fowler, they are loving life because Dante Fowler will be a stud for them. But really, to be honest, they're just looking for anyone to, just play defense for them. And so Vic Beasley, there you go. There's a new home. Have fun in Atlanta. For the New York Giants, the Giants.
All right, what do you do at number 9?
Kevin White or Amari Cooper are available. But in this mock, they're not available. So the Giants, they don't really have a need at edge rusher. They have good enough edge rushers. They don't really have a need at cornerback. Their cornerbacks are pretty damn good. So what else do they need? They need to protect Eli Manning. Look, Eli Manning, he needs protection. Even though I said to myself, I don't think there's any offensive lineman worth a top 15 selection, the Giants, that's what they need the most, is to protect Eli Manning. Eli Manning looked like he couldn't even stand still half the time when he was playing. And I saw a lot of Giants games where Eli Manning was just looked like he was running for his life out there. So they're going to draft Brandon Sheriff, guard, offensive tackle out of Iowa. The dude can play right tackle. He can play left guard, right guard. That's a good thing about this guy. He can play all those 3 different positions, and so you can rotate your offensive line in case of injuries and all that. So that's why I have Brandon Sheriff. And he's a good player, too. I liked him. A good nice pass blocker as well. Not the best pass block, nice, which the Giants need is more run blocking, too, because, seriously, you need to have a good running back to start playing for New York. You need another running back to help Eli Manning take some pressure off of him. Yeah, and, maybe this could help sprain up the holes for who's the running back anyways? Rashad Jennings still running? Oh, no, he's going to be catching passes.
Yeah, and they actually signed Shane Vereen, but he's not going to be doing any running. And to piggyback off of that, I mean, this is the Tom Coughlin way. Yeah, we're going to build the offensive and defensive lines, and we're going to go to war. So this is what he does. He loves building the trenches and doing all of that. So this is so Tom Coughlin. They're definitely drafting an offensive lineman here. Number 10, I have the St. Louis Rams, and I'm sure the Rams want to draft a stupid offensive tackle as if they haven't taken enough in the past 6 years. But I don't care because it's time for them to finally get a number 1 wide receiver and one that won't be horrible like Tavon Austin or Brian Quick or this guy or that guy. Devontae Parker, wide receiver, Louisville. I like him. I like what he can do. He was injured this year, so his production wasn't quite what you wanted it to be. But when he was on the field and when he was catching passes from Teddy Bridgewater, you saw good things out of him. He could definitely be a number one for St. Louis, and Nick Foles, who needs a number one wide receiver to be successful, or Chip Kelly, but neither one are walking through that door anytime soon. Give him that wide receiver.
That number one wide receiver. Let's hope Devontae Parker doesn't end up like the Tavon Austins and the Brian Quicks of the world. They need that number one wide receiver. I mean, Kenny Britt, he showed, the flashes that he showed in Tennessee, but then again, it's Kenny Britt. You're trying to rely on this dude to really be your number one wide receiver. That's not a formula to success. Devontae Parker is a good, tall wide receiver, can make a lot of great catches, and someone to help your quarterback, Nick Foles, improve. Because St. Louis, they're a team that, since the Nick Foles addition, that you can argue could make the playoffs. I mean, they have a good enough defense to help out with that offense, and as long as the offense is able to score enough points, they can actually do some work. So, Devontae Parker would be the best move here. As for the Minnesota Vikings, I was hoping Devontae Parker would fall to the Vikings so we get that Bridgewater and Parker connection again. That was a great connection to watch in college, but you chose them for the Rams. And so I have the Minnesota Vikings taking next big thing, best thing, Trey Waynes out of Michigan State, the cornerback, possibly one of the best cornerback prospects in this draft. I personally like him a lot. He's a typical Michigan State cornerback, huge and can cover. It's amazing that these guys find like tall people to play cornerback, but yeah, that's what Trey Waynes is. And he'll pair well with Harrison Smith, who is a stud so far. And who did they draft? That one cornerback? Is it Xavier Rhodes or is that another corner? Yeah, Xavier Rhodes. Like, you need to find cornerbacks in the NFC North because you're playing against Stafford and most importantly, you're playing against Aaron Rodgers. You need to stop Stafford and Aaron Rodgers and who they're throwing to week in and week out. You need to find guys that can stop Randall Cobb, Megatron, Jordy Nelson, Eric Ebron if he ever develops, Golden Tate. You need to find people to stop those quarterbacks throwing to those people. So that's what the Minnesota Vikings should be worried about. I feel like they can get more value in the offense later in the rounds, so they have to go with Trey Waynes here.
Yeah, and I know Mike Zimmer loves taking cornerbacks. While he was in Cincinnati, he took about 10. Dre Kirkpatrick, Darkest Denner, this guy, that guy. This is what they're going to do. But I really like the Vikings roster when I'm looking at their young team. So this would be a great pick for them. Continue to actually make strides towards Green Bay. Because unlike the Detroit Lions and unlike the Bears, they're drafting well. And that's how you end up competing in this league. So when you have young guys like Teddy Bridgewater, like Sharif Floyd, Xavier Rhodes, Anthony Barr, and now Trey Waynes, and this is how you build a team. So this would definitely be a good way for the Vikings to get back in playoff contention.
Smith is underrated as a safety in the NFL. I don't think people give Harrison Smith much love. Yeah, everyone's mocking this dude.
And at 12, I have the Cleveland Browns. and this is a pick that everyone's mocking, which tells me the Browns are going to mess this up somehow. But I have them taking Danny Shelton, a nose tackle out of Washington. They want to move on from Phil Taylor in the nose. Who better than Danny Shelton? And his stock fell a little bit at the combine because he ran slow. Well, no shit. He's a nose tackle. You see how fat this guy is, but he's a good fat. He's an explosive fat. He's a strong fat. And if I need a nose tackle, this is the guy I'm calling. And he loves football. He's a Peloponnesian freak, as I like to call him. And he's ready to stop the run and maybe even get after the passer a little bit. So this is such a good pick. I'm sure the Browns won't do it. I'm sure they'll draft Todd Gurley or something or this or that. But I'll have them taking Danny Shelton
in the top 5 just because of talent alone. I think this guy is extremely talented. I fell in love watching this guy's film and saying, Jesus, I hope he falls to the Chargers. I really hope Danny Shelton falls to the Chargers. I hope the Browns mess up this pick, James. Then the Chargers could actually have a nose tackle to help Kendall Reyes and freaking Corey Liuget do something. But Danny Shelton I love a lot. Browns, don't miss this up. Because seriously, you guys need a nose tackle. You guys were atrocious against the run. You had a chance to defeat the Colts and cement yourself in the playoff race, but you let some random running back, who I can't even remember the name of. I don't even remember the Colts running back that ran the ball when it was 4th and 1. If you had a big old nose tackle in there, boom, the Colts would have won this game. It would have been a great moment in Cleveland sports, and you guys would have been happy. But no, you let the Colts with this random running back, who I can't even remember the name of, get that 1-yard conversion. They were just terrible against the run, the Browns. They just couldn't stop anyone. When Justin Forsett is looking like he is Adrian Peterson against you, you know there's problems with that run defense. So, yeah, you need to get Danny Shelton just to clog up the run. Like, he's not going to do anything for you stopping the quarterbacks. You know, he's not that type of guy, but definitely stopping against the run, especially with the running backs down there in the AFC North. You have Le'Veon Bell coming off a career year, and he looks to, after his suspension's over, he looks to freaking come back running hard. You know, the Ravens always find a way to produce a good running back out of nowhere. And then you have Cincinnati with their 2 running backs, Giovanni Bernard and the LSU kid that I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. Which LSU did it? Jeremy Hill. Okay, I get Alfred Blue and Jeremy Hill mixed up because they both played at LSU. Both are studs, by the way.
Jeremy Hill.
Yeah, Jeremy Hill and Giovanni Bernard. You need someone to stop those guys. So, yeah, draft Danny Shelton now. Shane Ray, a guy who I like a lot, but is falling through the draft process because he's not really doing well at the combine and all that other stuff. But hey, I like Shane Ray. I think Shane Ray is a really good player out of Missouri. Really, to be honest, I think that the Saints, once again, they're getting lucky. You know, the Saints, these past drafts have just been sitting here, thumbs up their asses, doing nothing actually, and getting good players. They got like Kenny Vaccaro by doing nothing. Yeah, they traded up a little bit to get Brandon Cooks, but still, they gave away nothing really to get Brandon Cooks. And now they're going to get a good one in Shane Ray, who's a good 3-4 outside linebacker, defensive end. They need more players to fit that 3-4 system. That's something that the Saints are really lacking on their defense, is just people who fit that system. I think Shane Ray's a really good fit here and someone that could help the New Orleans Saints defense, you know, stop Cam Newton, stop Matt Ryan, and stop all those other oh my God, I keep drawing a blank. Jameis Winston. I always forget the Buccaneers are in the NFC South somehow. So, yeah, he's good. And not only that, Shane Ray's athletic. That's a good thing about Shane Ray. He can stop, you know, athletic guys. And you need someone to stop Cam Newton because Cam Newton, I think he's going to have a big year this year.
And Sean Payton is now on the rebuild train. He is absolutely keyed in and focused on rebuilding this Saints team. Say goodbye to the Jonathan Vilmas, the Curtis Lawtons, the Will Smiths of the world. He is adding an influx of new talent to this Saints defense. Yeah, I like him too. And this will be a big pick for them. Even if they decide to stick with Cameron Jordan and oh God, I'm drawing a blank on their other defensive end. Shane Ray can play outside linebacker. All right, so with the 14th pick, I decided to go with Todd Gurley, running back out of Georgia, to the Miami Dolphins. Wide receiver was a possibility here, but I barfed at had the chance of drafting Brashard Perriman or Dorial Green-Beckham this early, so why not Todd Gurley, who is rising up draft boards because he's checking out medically, and based on just straight-up talent on the 2014 tape, he looked like a top 10 pick. So sitting here at 14, if you know he can be healthy by the time the season starts, why not get a running back that you know you can get production from in Todd Gurley? And Ryan Tannehill, who has been looking more and more like a franchise quarterback every year, can have now a consistent running back, not named Lamar Miller or no Sean Marino or blah, 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 to hand the ball off to.
Yeah, like that's the thing that's been hurting Miami, to me at least, is that it's not really Tannehill. It's hard for Tannehill to really develop unless he has like a good running back mate back there, and it just hasn't been consistent for him. You know, Lamar Miller, there was at one point where he was showing stretches that, maybe he could be, you know, the every down back for Miami, and then he started fumbling. And then Daniel Thomas started fumbling. So what did Miami do? They signed Noshawn Marino, which I thought was a great signing by Miami because Noshawn, they only got him for a 1-year prove-it deal to say, hey, prove that what you did in Denver wasn't a fluke. They got him on a good deal, and Noshawn Marino got injured, and you never really got to see what Noshawn could do, and Miami smartly said, look, you got injured again, sorry, bye, we don't want you. And Todd Gurley would be excellent for Miami, especially because Miami's trying to make this huge push and, in a wide open AFC East. Everyone says, oh, the AFC East is going to be the Patriots again, but shoot, that division's wide open. Buffalo got a little bit better. The Jets are hopefully maybe going to get a little bit better. The Patriots did lose some talent on that Super Bowl roster, and Miami, they seem like, like the huge favorites to maybe come out of there, with the recent signs of the Ndamukong Suh and picking up another wide receiver to replace Mike Wallace. Who they pick up? They picked up someone to replace Mike Wallace. Didn't they pick up didn't they sign someone interesting? I can't remember off the top.
The Dolphins?
Yeah, didn't they sign a wide receiver to?
They signed Greg Jennings. They also traded for Kenny Stills.
Just recently, huh?
And they also traded for Kenny Stills.
Yeah, Kenny Stills is nothing. But Greg Jennings, Kenny Stills, let's be real here. Kenny Stills was generally there for Drew Brees just to throw for a safety valve, and somehow he got open. But yeah, so Greg Jennings, that could help them out. Like, I'm not saying Greg Jennings is going to lead them to a Super Bowl or anything. I'm just saying he's much more reliable than Mike Wallace. Where's Mike Wallace even playing? Is he even signed to a team?
Yeah, he Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, well,
traded a 5th-round pick.
That's good for Bridgewater. But, James, you talked about Brashard Perriman. For the San Francisco 49ers and their new head coach, they love offense, and they need someone for Colin Kaepernick to play. And so that's why I'm choosing Brashard Perriman. Now, I don't think Perriman should be drafted this high. I think that, like James here said, like he's being very overvalued. But that's the thing in this draft. Sometimes you overvalue players. You overvalue for what they are worth. And Brashard Perriman, I feel like, is a great example of being overvalued. But the 49ers, to me, they need, inside linebacker and cornerbacks the most. Well, there's not really inside linebackers or cornerbacks, I feel like, that are worthy enough for them to draft right here, right now. So that's why I have them getting Brashard Perriman, wide receiver out of UCF. Fast dude. Hopefully Kaepernick can throw bombs to him. That's pretty much it. You're going to have Torrey Smith and Brashard Perriman just running streaks down there in San Francisco. Maybe some corner routes. I don't know. I don't know what the San Francisco 49ers are going to look like. I don't know why they fired Jim Harbaugh. This is one of the most idiotic moves I've ever seen out of an organization. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Brashard Perriman and how he probably won't do shit for the 49ers next year. But that's fine because they're going to draft him. And you 49er fans are going to be upset. But hey, it's just the truth.
And thank you for bringing up the idiot 49ers. Getting rid of Jim Harbaugh, and they're going to learn their lesson this year when they take another step back. Jim Tom Sula better be one hell of a coach, because if not, they're going to take a step back. And the 49ers and the Texans, who I just picked for, they're in no man's land. Like, I don't know who these guys are going to pick out of this draft. I mean, it's anyone's guess what direction these two organizations are going. But ultimately, I don't like Brashard Perriman. I think he's a second-round pick. He'll go in the first round. I don't care. I don't like him. I think he drops the ball too much. I understand he has upside. He has this. He has that. I don't care. I think he's the second-round pick, and I think we'll see that as his career progresses. Now, like I said, with the Houston Texans here at the 16th pick, this is no man's land. I don't know who they're picking. I don't know who they're targeting here. You could literally get every single position outside. No, not even outside of anything. Any position is in play here outside of cornerback. Besides that, it's anyone's guess. They could take anything here. That's a value. They're not going to take a quarterback, obviously, although they need one, because Brian Hoyer and Ryan Mallett won't do anything to me. So with that said, I have them taking Eric Armstead, who would play 3-4 defensive end in their system. I understand that they have J.J. Watt on one side, okay, and then you have Jared Crickety Crick on the other side. Yeah, no. You need to have another defensive end on that defensive front next to Vince Wilfork, who will be the nose, and next to J.J. Watt. But Jared Crick, no, that's not an impressive defensive end to have. either Eric Armstead or Malcolm Brown should be in play here for a 3-4 defense.
Yeah, especially you need someone on that also on that other side of defensive end better than Jared Crick that's going to help Clowney out because let's not forget Jadeveon Clowney, who everyone thought was going to be the greatest defensive rookie of all time. Sorry, Khalil Mack took that position from you, Jadeveon Clowney, but I digress. But Eric Armstead, yeah, he's I think he's a great pick here for the Texans. I mean, he can definitely disrupt the tackles and hopefully help out, Jadeveon Clowney get to the quarterback. That's why I like this pickup. Any 3-4 defensive end I think would be better than Jared Crick. So yeah. For 17 for the San Diego Superchargers, I have them checking out Eric Flowers, offensive tackle on Miami. The Chargers are kind of like in the weird position, any offensive tackle would be useful, but there's also like the perception that they need a new running back. Being a Chargers fan, we have already 3 running backs. And when it comes to Mike McCoy's offense, you just really need one running back to run the ball every once in a while. You don't need to worry about, like having like a really, really great LaDainian Tomlinson replacement. So it's all about passing when it comes to Mike McCoy's offense. And, they need to keep Phillip Rivers standing up straight. Because just like Eli Manning last year, Phillip Rivers was another dude who was running for his life. Eric Flowers, Andres Preet, Cameron Irving, whoever. It doesn't matter. Every offensive tackle is available. I just chose Eric Flowers because I like Flowers a little bit more than Andres Peet. Bill Flowers is a nice pass blocker, nice run blocker. I saw what he was doing for Duke Johnson when I was watching my Duke Johnson film. I just saw this Eric Flowers dude just beating the crap out of other dudes. And then I saw him freaking doing nice pass blocking. So, yeah. And you need someone to maybe help DJ Fluker out, if you need to slide DJ Fluker into the guard spot or King Dunlap into the guard spot as well. So there you go. Eric Flowers protecting.
Yeah, this would, yeah. Oh, sorry for interrupting.
Eric Flowers is my pick, pretty much.
Yeah, and this would be another interesting pick for the San Diego Chargers under the regime of Tom Telesco and Mike McCoy, who have built a young nucleus here in San Diego in the form of DJ Fluker, Keenan Allen, Manti Te'o, Jeremiah Tauchu, and now Eric Flowers would join that front. Oh, and Jason Barrett. Let's not forget about him. Yeah. And, so this would be another good pick for them along that offensive line, continuing to protect Phillip Rivers. When they fixed that protection back in 2013, that's what allowed him to have that playoff season. And I'm sure he could have that again. And he's the reason why they're as good as they are. So there are rumors of them trading for Marcus Mariota. I get why. I think this guy's really good. But anyway, I have the 18th pick, Kansas City Chiefs. They want to pick offensive linemen here. I had them going wide receiver in January, February, but then they picked up Jeremy Maclin in free agency. Now it's time to work on the offensive line. You need to give Alex Smith every weapon you can if you want him to win Super Bowls, because if not, he's not going to win anything for you. So I have them taking Lael Collins, offensive lineman out of LSU. He can play guard. He can play tackle. They took offensive tackle Eric Fisher a couple years ago. Not really looking like a number 1 overall pick, so time to go right back to picking offensive linemen. Andy Reid loves doing that. He has no problem doing that. And Lael Collins would be a good fit here, and he'll open up holes for Jamal Charles, who was frustrated last year.
Yeah, exactly. Because they just need someone to also help Alex Smith out, in the passing game as well. Because they just need someone that can help give Alex Smith a little bit more time so he can throw his little dink and dumps to whatever wide receivers they have now in Kansas City. I think, didn't Maclin sign with them? Jeremy Maclin, didn't he sign with them?
Yeah, Jeremy Maclin.
Or whatever former Eagles wide receiver that just followed Andy Reid to friggin' Kansas City. I think both.
Yeah, it was Maclin.
Both of them are there, actually, I believe. So, yeah, they just need an offensive lineman to help, Jamal Charles. Because let's face it, the Chiefs' offense, they're not going unless Jamal Charles is going. When Jamal Charles disappears, then the whole entire Chief offense disappears.
And real quick, if they want to bring any former Eagle, I think Donovan McNabb would be the one.
No, I think he's too busy just being fat on NFL Network now.
Yeah, that is true. All right, go ahead.
Oh, no, it's your pick. Oh, yeah, it's mine. The Cleveland Browns, huh? with Andres Peet, offensive tackle out of Stanford. One of the problems with the Cleveland Browns was also offensive line. Couldn't really open up running lanes, and they really couldn't pass block. They need someone that can open up running lanes. Andres Peet comes from Stanford. One thing Stanford football likes to do is run the football. He can play right. He can play left. It doesn't matter. This guy will definitely help out Cleveland Browns running game, because not only did they have trouble stopping the run, they have trouble with the running game. And I feel Cleveland actually has a nice little two-headed monster back there with Crowell and Terrence West. I think that's a nice little two-headed monster. And did they get rid of Ben Tate, or did they still have him?
I think it was a 1-year deal. I think right now he's on the street and no one wants him.
Okay, good, because no one should be signing him. That dude has not proven anything whatsoever in the NFL. But yeah, they pretty much just need someone that really, to be honest, could help them out. They just need someone to help make up the lanes for these two nice little running backs that they have, and they need someone to hopefully protect for whoever their starting quarterback is, because at this point, the Browns with that position.
Yeah, the Cleveland Browns going under speed here. I mean, they want a tackle. They said they want a tackle. I believe they want a tackle. I'm just not very sure why. They have Joe Thomas on one side. You have Mitchell Schwartz on the other side. I think they're pretty good. They also got some stupid guard. Who was the stupid guard they got?
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, and then who was the riser last year, the guard that they picked, and I can't remember. I'll go back and I'll look at that. But they have another good guard there. I mean, I don't know why they're looking at offensive line, to be honest. I think they should take a wide receiver here. But they're going to take their stupid offensive tackle. Fine. That's fine with me. All right, so we have the Philadelphia Eagles, and speaking of stupid decisions, the Philadelphia Eagles are going to do something very stupid in the first round. Look, these people drafted Marcus Smith. I mean, this is the biggest bust ever, I think. This guy did not even play a snap, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe he played, a little bit, but I'm exaggerating, but still, he was pretty awful. Wasted pick. And I'm sure he'll overdraft, because Chip Kelly just identifies what he wants, like he's recruiting, and then just says, yeah, this guy fits what I'm doing here. But I'm sorry, this is not how it works, Chip Kelly. So he'll overdraft. He'll pick Nelson Aguilar, wide receiver out of USC, who I actually like, but this is too high for him. I guess he'll be a good fit with the Philadelphia Eagles. He'll be quick, he'll be nice, and he'll be able to move along with them and transition well into their fast-paced offense. But it's an overdraft. I think when you have Dorial Green-Beckham available, when you have Jalen Strong available, those are guys you should be looking at before Nelson Aguilar. But I hear the Eagles like Aguilar, and I hear the Eagles like Byron Jones, the cornerback out of UConn. So I expect one of those idiots to be the pick here.
Talent. It's like, okay, Aguilar has somewhat of a history angle, because let's face it, SC wide receivers, they're really fucking good, but they never really turn out well in the NFL. We're not going to predict the Eagles to do anything smart. This is the same franchise that had a quarterback in Nick Foles and said, you know what, we're done with this loser. Let's get Sam Bradford. What? You traded Nick Foles for a guy that has not proven since his rookie year that he can stay healthy. Does that make any sense? He signed two of the most injury-prone running backs in the NFL, and Ryan Matthews and DeMarco Murray. The only reason why DeMarco Murray had that great season was because of the Dallas offensive line. Like, he's a good runner, DeMarco Murray. This guy's injury-prone. Like, hell, I won't be surprised if Darren McFadden has a huge season for Dallas next year. Yeah, Ryan Matthews, being a Chargers fan, I can tell you, this guy, he could be really good. Really, really good. But can he stay healthy? Like, you have, like, the most injury-prone backfield I've ever seen. And then you sign Tim Tebow, for whatever dumb dick reason. You have Tim Tebow on your team. Like, your offense is going to be a mess. Like, Nelson Aguilar just fits with the whoever wide receivers that the Philadelphia Eagles have nowadays. As for the Cincinnati Bengals, who I think is a really good team, what they need to really focus on is building up depth on that defensive line. You know, Geno Atkins has been kind of injured these couple seasons. Domata Pico, you know, just kind of been have that one defensive end that really stands out to me, unless I'm forgetting what the Bengals do on defense. But Malcolm Brown, I think, would be a good pick here. because he's a depth guy. He's someone that you can put in and rotate in and out. So Geno Atkins doesn't have to play so much snaps. So that way Dominic Pico doesn't have to play so much snaps. He can play nose tackle. He can play defensive end. He can play the 3 technique. This guy is just an overall player. So he's a good depth position guy. He's not going to be a star in the NFL. He could be, but he's a good depth position player now for his first year. So that's why I have the Bengals taking Malcolm Brown out of Texas.
Oh, and real quick, I remembered who that guard the Browns took last year. Joel Bitonio was the guy they took. Okay, on to the Bengals. Yeah, bolster that defensive line. Get someone right next to Geno Atkins. Devin Still, nice story, but he looks like he's going to be preoccupied, to say the least. And like you say, Dometa Pickle cannot be relied upon anymore. Biggest thing, though, for these guys, Andy, you just lose straight in the first round of the playoffs, but they'll continue to ignore this. Hopefully, AJ can wake them up. And maybe AJ McCarron will end up being the answer in Cincinnati, because to me, it's not there yet. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers sit at 22, and they're going to take their safety. They're going to take Landon Collins, a safety at Alabama, to be the heir apparent to Troy Polamalu. Polamalu retired earlier in this offseason. They have a hole at safety. Who better than a Landon Collins to fill that role? He's been falling. I mean, if you open up a mock draft from November, December, you'll see Landon Collins going number 5 to the Redskins. Now you see him all the way down here, but teams don't like his coverage abilities, and they don't like the whole safety class in general. But this would be a good pick for the Steelers because, like Troy Polamalu, he can do a lot of damage in the box. But unlike Troy Polamalu, he won't kill you getting crazy turnovers or anything like that. But like still, it's a good safety to have in Landon Collins.
They always get good players for no damn reason. They just sit there, do nothing, and somehow players just fall to them. And the Steelers are like, oh, David DeCastro, you losers don't want him? Well, we'll take David DeCastro. This Pouncey fucker, you guys don't want him? Okay, we'll take him. Like, they just get these good players. I don't know how. They just sit there. Like, Jarvis Jones, yeah, he hasn't really done much, but hey, if this guy actually produces like he should be producing, this guy's going to be a stud. And same with Landon Collins. Like, once he gets some coverage skills underneath him, like he won't be great right off the bat, but once he gets some coverage skills underneath him, Landon Collins is going to do some good stuff in the NFL. This guy is a huge hitter. I saw a lot of hits that he made for Alabama where I was like, woo-hoo, Landon Collins. And he can force the receivers to drop the balls if he has a line drive hit on them. So yeah, like the Steelers, once again, the same organization. They just sit in the draft, do absolutely nothing, and they get these good players. It's unfair. I don't know how the Steelers do it. They just do it. And even then, like even if they don't get Landon Collins, they could potentially get Randy Gregory as well with this pick, which, I'm not a huge fan of Gregory, but from a media standpoint, that's a fucking good pick. So yeah, Steelers, they're going to be winners no matter what they do on draft day. They always get good talent. It's freaking Pittsburgh Steelers. God dang, such a smart organization. Sit there and do nothing. They don't make any noise. Like Team Kajane don't have that type of luck in the Detroit. They don't have that luck whatsoever. In fact, they have a bad draft history. But recently they've been drafting well. And I feel like they're going to draft a running back to replace Reggie Bush. And that running back is the second best running back in this draft class, and that's Melvin Gordon. They would love Todd Gurley, but I think they're going to get Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon's a good running back. I like him. But he's from Wisconsin. And the problem with Wisconsin running backs is they bust in the NFL. They don't play well in the NFL. So this could either be a great pick for, Detroit, help Detroit maybe make an NFC championship push, maybe a Super Bowl push, because Detroit's not far off. Like, people tend to forget that Detroit's actually a really good team. Yeah, they lost Ndamukong Suh, but they replaced him right away with the Haloti Ngata. Like, I don't know how the hell they just traded away a third-round pick for Haloti Ngata, but good on freaking the Detroit Lions. Pretty much Detroit, they're not that far off. They need a running back to help Stafford out. No offense to Joique Bell, but he's not a number one running back. He's a good change of pace type of dude, because he's so powerful and big. Melvin Gordon will be your new featured back, and hopefully he doesn't end up like the other Wisconsin running backs.
Yeah, I really like this for the Detroit Lions. Yeah, they have Reggie Bush and Joy Bell. Yeah, who cares? Now you have your staple 3-down running back and Melvin Gordon who can hand the ball off to. They want to play defense in Detroit, and they do a good job of that. Now, they're going to do a little bit worse of a job now that Ndamukong Suh left, but now you go back to the offensive side and you add a little piece here and hopefully get Calvin Johnson back healthy because let's not forget, hey, this guy is good. And the Lions won games without him. So when you add him back into the mix, hey, they could be really good. And you add Melvin Gordon, whew, now we have something going here. So definitely like Melvin Gordon going here to the Detroit Lions. I sit here with Arizona, and this is another no man's land for me. I'm not really sure where the Cardinals are going to go, but they see someone falling. They think they can help him out. They take Randy Gregory, outside linebacker out of Nebraska. He's been falling, and as he should, because the issues with his maturity and his lack of teammate camaraderie and his basically selfishness have been absolutely eye-opening for me, and he's been falling down my big board as well. Hopefully he gets his head on straight. Hopefully he can either stay off the weed or learn how to pass the marijuana drug test, which is not that difficult if you ask me. But
hurt him. But hey, he's going to the perfect
he has
team.
to figure it out.
Arizona,
and if he does, then he'll be a bust and we'll move on.
Issues. I mean, they have what's his name, Darryl Washington. Is that his name? The linebacker that keeps getting in problems. Well, is that Darryl Washington? I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Yeah, they have Darryl Washington, who they hopefully can fix up. Like, he got injured this season, but hopefully they can get hit. They've gotten him off the problem. Like, look at Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah, that is.
Tyrann Mathieu was like a huge problem case, and they got him off the problem. They have a good camaraderie down there in Arizona, so I really feel like he would go to the right team. I mean, I'm sure Bruce Arians would love to help bolster up that offense because that's what Bruce Arians is, that type of guy, but. Hey, really, to be honest, with the defense that he's going to be in, a really good, scary Arizona Cardinals defense, this will just make them even scarier, especially if he has his head on straight. The Carolina Panthers, though, James, I know people are going to be upset with me, especially the Panther fans, because they're going to come on here and say, oh, but we need a wide receiver and a tackle. Well, you who the fuck your head coach is. Your head coach doesn't give a shit about your offense. Oh, hell no. That's why you let Steve Smith go. Your head coach cares about defense. And that's what Carolina's going to do. They're going to draft defense. And they're going to draft Shaq Thompson, outside linebacker out of Washington. And I know a lot of you people are going to be like, but why do we need an outside linebacker? Because Thomas Davis is 32 years old and is heading into a contract year. Plus, you need another linebacker. And Shaq Thompson fits your scheme, and he's actually pretty damn good of a player. And once again, Riverboat Ron is coaching that team, not you guys. You guys may think it would make sense to get Dorial Green Beckham or Jalen Strong here or maybe one of the other offensive tackles we haven't named. But guess what? Riverboat Ron doesn't think that makes sense. But Riverboat Ron thinks that's dumb. And he's going to draft Shaq Thompson to be that player. And I feel like this would be a good pick because, once again, like I mentioned, Thomas Davis had a contract year. He played really, really well. But just imagine the athletic linebacking crew of Luke Kuechly and Shaq Thompson for years to come. Think about it, Panthers fans. You need defense to stop the NFC South anyways. You need defense. So there you have it. Shaq Thompson.
Yeah, Ron Rivera salivating at having that linebacking core. Yeah, I mean, I like Shaq Thompson. As you said, I think he'd be a linebacker in this defense. Some people see him as a Cam Chancellor. I don't know about that. Have him play linebacker in this defense, and it would make the defense more formidable. And the Panthers, I'm starting to worry about. And now you lost Greg Hardy for good. He didn't play last season, so it's not a huge deal, but you drafted Coney Ealy last year to be his replacement. Coney Ealy sunk. So hopefully Shaq Thompson would bring that defense back to where you expect it to be. Yes, they won their division. Yeah, give me a who cares. Like, the NFC South was the easiest thing to win, but now you have the Bucks on the rebound, Falcons on the rebound, Saints on the rebound. what are the Panthers doing? Because they're just sitting on their hands, if you ask me. And they may watch as every other team in the NFC South blows by. But moving on to the 26th pick, the Baltimore Ravens. This pick intrigues me. It's going to be one of three things, in my opinion. Either a wide receiver, a cornerback, or Max Williams. I'm not even going to say tight end because that's the only tight end you would take. The cornerbacks were the issue last season. But they lost Torrey Smith in free agency. And the Baltimore way is to replace your guys to the draft. And they do such a good job. I mean, they lost Haloti Ngata. Well, they traded Haloti Ngata. And they're like, it's okay. Why? Because we already knew this was going to happen. And we drafted Timmy Jernigan last year. And we're ready for this. That's why they're so good. They replace people all the time. It's amazing. And now they're going to get Jalen Strong, wide receiver out of Arizona State. I like him to Anquan Bolden in that they don't really separate. And it's funny because if you ask them to race you, they'll win. They'll beat you in a one-on-one straight race, but they don't really separate. But when the ball is up in the air, they go get it. And they get that back shoulder throw down. So Jalen Strong will be a very familiar asset to Joe Flacco because I liken him to Anquan Bolden. Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti said we put more of an emphasis on tight end than wide receiver. I think he was blowing up some smoke. Yeah, they know they need a wide receiver. You cannot
Jalen Strong,
trust
I really
Steve
like.
Smith
I think that
to carry things for you.
He has a name that you can just picture
even at his age. Not the whole passing offense.
He's just the perfect pick for the Baltimore Ravens. You know, they need a wide receiver for Joe Flacco. Let's not forget, they're still paying Joe Flacco like obscene amount of money. So they definitely need someone to, keep, Joe Flacco strong. And Jalen Strong could be that guy. Oh, look at that pun on words there. Speaking of guys that need to help bolster up, like the Ravens need to replace wide receiver, the Cowboys need a new cornerback. Because Maurice Claiborne was ass. And I get it, a lot of you Cowboy fans feel like, oh, well, we can get a running back here. Well, sorry, there's no running backs warrant left to be a first-round selection. You guys need a cornerback. And so you're going to replace Maurice Claiborne with another cornerback out of LSU, Jalen Collins, who is a very terrific player, who I think can cover well in the NFL level and can definitely do some damage for that Cowboys defense. Because Cowboys defense, they played really well. Now, once again, this is Jerry Jones drafting here, and I should pick, the most random fucking player and have Jerry Jones draft that person, but I can't really think of that at this time. I can't think of who would be random enough for Jerry Jones to draft. So I just went with Jalen Collins. He's close enough. He's a cornerback, so why not?
Yeah, Jerry Jones, I guess he likes drafting quarterbacks out of LSU, not too many years removed from taking Morris Claiborne, but hopefully this one would be better than Morris Claiborne, Mr. 4 on the Wonder Lake or whatever he had. They need cornerback help. I'm sure they would have loved to have seen Melvin Gordon here or Todd Gurley here, and that way they could replace DeMarco Murray the way he deserves to be replaced and not by Darren McFadden, who we all know, everyone on the planet knows will get injured. Everyone on planet Earth. But this is a good pick ultimately for the Dallas Cowboys. Sitting here at 28, the Denver Broncos. Peyton Manning needs some more protection on that offensive line. They want to be more effective against the in the run game as well. So why not take Cameron Irving, offensive lineman, Florida State? Played center this year, but played tackle before that, and there were even rumors he could play guard. So he'll be able to fit anywhere on this offensive line for Peyton Manning. Already been in a pro-style system similar to that of the Denver Broncos there at Florida State, so this will be a seamless transition. And when we're talking about offensive linemen going to the next level, this is one that I feel confident that he will transition well. Very low bust chances for me for Cameron Irving, so I would definitely like this pick.
Yeah, I think Cameron Irving's just like a nice, safe pick. Carry all 5 positions of offensive line. They do need to replace the leaf of Orlando Franklin. The dude can open up holes. You just had a good experiment with C.J. Anderson. Peyton Manning's arm is not what it used to be. He's no longer being able to throw those big bombs anymore. Peyton Manning is just down to, throwing dink and dumps and, screenplays. And you need someone that is mobile to go down on those inside linebackers. So Cameron Irving makes sense to me. So I like the pickup of Cameron Irving for the Denver Broncos. He can play any position on the offensive line and do well at it. As for the Colts, You know, it's funny. The Colts and Broncos picking after each other. You know, they need an inside linebacker. That's what they need the most. And I got them drafting Eric Kendricks out of UCLA. I was hoping Landon Collins would actually fall down to the Colts, because that's who I think the Colts would love to have on their team, is Landon Collins. But sadly, the Pittsburgh Steelers, being the smart organization they are, just sits on their ass and fucking gets good players. So pretty much I saw Eric Kendricks, felt that he was a good player there. So there you go.
Yeah, Eric Kendricks is a player I like, UCLA, inside linebacker for the Colts. Colts haven't been doing a very good job drafting outside of Andrew Luck and T.Y. Hilton, drafting busts like Bjorn Werner, trading their draft picks for Trent Richardsons of the world. And that's why when people talk about Ryan Grigson being such a great GM, I'm like, okay, yeah, he was there. He took Andrew Luck. Okay. Like, I mean, idiots like Coby Fleener should not be starting anywhere. It's just that, well, we're just going to start him. Like, he's not a good tight end. The Colts need to learn how to draft. They're not doing a very good job. This would be a good pick for them, however, which is why I don't expect them to do it. They'll sit here and they'll draft some random defensive lineman like Xavier Cooper, who should not have any business going in the first round. That's what I expect Ryan Grigson to do. Now, would you do... Oh, no, it's my turn, actually. Number 30, we have the Green Bay Packers sitting here. We're close to getting to the Super Bowl. If they got in there, you have to think they would have had a good chance of winning it. They beat the Patriots during the regular season. Why not in the Super Bowl? So now what can they do to make that final push to get back to the Super Bowl? Why not take a corner, Byron Jones, cornerback out of UConn? You would not have seen this guy in the first round a couple months ago, even a month ago, but he continues to rise throughout the draft process. Showed up at the combine, was an absolute stud, and these UConn corners keep popping up on the grid. And teams are taking notice of that and going to UConn during their pro days, and he showed up at the pro day. He can also possibly play safety. They don't necessarily need to play safety. They drafted Clinton Dix last year, but it's a possibility as well. But they lost Tramon Williams in free agency to the Cleveland Browns. Good luck, Cleveland, which isn't a big loss, by the way. Now they're able to draft a corner in Byron Jones, and now you'll have Sam Shields. Byron Jones comes in there, and I like Casey Hayward, who's already a slot corner there for Green Bay. So their defense could look pretty scary if they got
Chip Kelly's heart would be broken, but don't worry. I think Chip Kelly would probably trade someone. He probably will have someone to trade to try to get Byron Jones. I'm pretty sure who's like the next best Eagle player that the Green Bay Packers would be interested in. Like, maybe they'll trade Byron Maxwell to them. Who knows? But yeah, this is a great pickup for the Green Bay Packers. They need help with the secondary, you know, with Tramon Williams leaving to Cleveland, which was a blessing in disguise. They're happy they didn't have to pay Tramon Williams money. They're happy. They're like, good, leave. We don't care. We'll just draft a replacement. And a nice, especially with the quarterback thing about is really, to be honest, Matthew Stafford. In that division, they don't have to worry about any other quarterback. Jay Cutler, you know, he's an idiot. Teddy Bridgewater, still a young guy. They only have to worry about that, and they have to worry about, you know, Russell Wilson's and, you know, whoever else they face in the playoffs. You know, there's not really that many good quarterbacks in the NFC if you look at it. But that's all they have to worry about are these quarterbacks. So really, it's a good pick here. It would help Green Bay get a little bit better. As for the New Orleans Saints, well, James, it's all about Sean Payton, what he wants in this pick. Sean Payton loves his players from Miami, and Philip Dorsett, a random wide receiver name that no one knows who he is going to be the Saints pick here. This screams a New Orleans Saints player. Philip Dorsett. You're just sitting there and being like, who? Exactly. That's who Drew Brees has been throwing to throughout his whole career. A bunch of people named that you can't even remember. Hell, I'm struggling to remember who the Saints' main receiver is. Marquise Colston? Who's that? He's not going to be a Hall of Fame wide receiver. He's just been a nice, sturdy guy. And that's who Philip Dorsett is. A nice, sturdy guy who can play football just like, you know, that Sean Payton likes to play. He'll play Drew Brees football. So Philip Dorsett is going to the New Orleans Saints.
And this will be the funniest huddle when you see three guys that basically are 6 foot and below in Philip Dorsett, Brandon Cooks, and Drew Brees coming with plans. But hey, don't knock on these short people because they will kick your ass. And they would raise hell down in New Orleans for defenses. Brandon Cooks, Philip Dorsett, Drew Brees. They can come up with something interesting there. I guess the Three Musketeers may be a good nickname for these three, but they want to have one last huzzah with Drew Brees, give him a weapon here, and Philip Dorsett ran fast 40, consistent hands. Only problem is he's short. What is he, a slot corner, blah, blah, blah. Hey, he's good. How about that? Why don't we just say he's good? So Philip Dorsett, I really like him. I like him more than some other wide receivers that have already gone, but I've already talked enough about them. Now, Bill Belichick, sitting at number 32. Usually he likes to trade back in this situation, but Bill sees something, and he's conniving, and he's thinking, and he says, you know what? Why don't I just get this Pro Bowl wide receiver? He's had issues. I don't care. I'll bring him here and I'll teach him the New England way. As he takes Dorial Green Beckham, wide receiver out of Oklahoma, but we might as well say Missouri. Look, this guy, based on talent alone, he's a top 10, top 5 talent. Only problem is he has some issues with some marijuana, with some domestic violence, but if he cleans up his act and plays the way he played at Missouri, the Patriots would, oh my God, the Patriots would be getting a weapon here in Dorial Green Beckham. And I have them taking him and taking advantage of the situation.
Type move. I think Dorial Green Beckham, I think people are looking way too much into their little, Dorial Green Beckham with their concerns. Like, really, to be honest, his concern should not be a reason why this guy shouldn't be a huge pick. His concern should be that he's a raw talent. Like, that's the one thing that people are forgetting, is that Dorial Green Beckham didn't start playing football until, his junior year in high school or something like that. I can't remember. But yeah, exactly. Like, really, to be honest here,
they just said, hey, you're tall.
So it makes sense why he would be drafted late in the first round, because you hope he turns into something good. These off-the-field concerns, really, to be honest, I feel like nowadays we look way too deep into that. I'm not looking deep into that. I just see a tall stud wide receiver that I'm happy transferred out of Missouri, because he's the reason why Missouri wasn't really that good offensively when he left. He got kicked off the team because he had marijuana possession. And, he went to Oklahoma. He didn't really do much. He just decided, hey, I'm going to the NFL draft. And this would be good, especially if he turns out well. He could definitely be that big-time target for a Brady. I don't think he's going to do shit, really, his first year. But second year, let's say Brady is like, you know what, guys, I got to come back and try to win a 5th Super Bowl. There you go, Tom Brady right there. Wait, how many Super Bowls does he have? 5 or 6? I keep forgetting. 5, okay. Yeah, he's heading.
Yeah, it's 5. Oh, wait, yeah.
So, he's heading for his 5th.
Wait, whoa. No, it's 4.
Got a year of Dorial Green Beckham, improving. He could help out because, let's face it, you can't be winning still games with, you can't keep trying to build a dynasty with Julian Edelmans of the world.
Yeah, well, almost gave Tom Brady 2 more Super Bowls. Tom Brady, that's what happens when you watch so much NBA. Tom Brady would love this pick. So there you go. Thus ends our dual mock draft. Comment down below who had the better draft, James or Chase, down in the comments.
Well, guess what? You're not the coach.
Yeah, that is true. The NFL draft finally among us. Thank God for that. And expect maybe some more podcasts down the road if this one is